Good morning, everybody. Let's call this meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Whitburn,
Here.
Commissioner Willis, Commissioner Desmond,
Here.
Commissioner Anderson, absent, Commissioner Becker, Commissioner White, absent, Commissioner McKenzie, Commissioner Mathis, alternate Commissioner Von Wilpert is absent, alternate Commissioner Drake,
Here.
alternate Commissioner McCann is absent, alternate Commissioner Browning. So there's a quorum with 8 members present.
Thank you, Clerk. Commissioner Mathis, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, Commissioner Mathis. Item 3 is our review of the agenda for this morning's meeting. Mr. Simons, anything that you would like to touch on this morning?
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Commissioner. So no changes to the agenda itself. Everything that we sent out early last week is held. We do have 2 pieces of supplemental correspondence for the Commission. One is an item involving 6A, an updated resolution that Michaela will cover when we get to that, and then also a supplement for 7C, the discussion item on CALAFCO, and Joelle will cover that as we get there. So other than that clarification, we are good to go.
All right. Let's move to non-agenda public comment. This provides an opportunity for anyone who would like to comment on something that is not on today's agenda but is within the purview of LAFCO. Clerk, do we have any public comment? All right, we have a public comment here from Trace Wilson. Please proceed.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having us. Sharon and Mark, come join me, please. We're just excited that we actually have applied our formal application to LAFCO for the incorporation of the community of La Jolla. And we look forward to working very closely with Keene and all of you in the upcoming couple of years. And the city of La Jolla, the community of La Jolla, excuse me, has really stepped up. 8,000 signatures. We have been out as a community on every corner, at the rec center, at the farmers market, collecting signatures from our community. We're excited about this, so we hope that you are too. We know that it's actually a fiscally very sound opportunity for San Diego, and we look forward to negotiating all the various aspects. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for being with us this morning. Is there any other non-agenda public comment?
None.
All right. With that, then, let's take up the consent items. Those are items 5A through 5H. Clerk, do we have any public comment on the consent items?
No public comment.
All right, thank you, Clerk. Do we have a motion to approve the consent items?
I'll second. I have a quick question, though, on 5C.
All right.
We're at 5C, correct?
Yes.
So, I believe it's page 31. I was a little confused in the verbiage. We're incorporating the white paper for recreational use of the reservoirs. Is that correct? Okay. When I read it, it seemed vague, and I just want to make sure that that's what it is.
Yes, so through the chair, just to confirm for the other commissioners and audience, so on 5C, which is our regular update on the work plan, we actually have a proposed amendment that ties to input from last meeting. So we are adding back the white paper exploring governance enhancement opportunities for water-based recreation in the unincorporated area. And then the trade is we are then taking out a previously scheduled white paper on community choice aggregation systems. And again, that's consistent with the kind of the uniform direction we got at the last meeting.
Do you have a motion yet?
Yes, we, thank you.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay, very good. Is there any other discussion on the consent items? Seeing none, we have a motion by Vice Chair Willis and a second from Commissioner White. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Whitburn,
Yes.
Commissioner Willis, Commissioner McKenzie, Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Mathis. Yes. Commissioner Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Desmond.
Yes.
There are 8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you, Clerk. That brings us to our public hearing item 6A, which is establishment of an interim sphere of influence for the San Diego Unified Port District. Do we have any commissioner disclosures of ex parte communications on this item? Seeing none, let's ask staff to present this item.
And we'll hand it off to Michaela.
All right. Good morning, Chair Whitburn and Commissioners. Michaela Peters, Analyst 2 for the record. And then before I get into this presentation, I just wanted to thank Scott Chadwick, the new President and CEO of the Port, as well as Job Nelson, VP of Strategy and Policy, for being here today. So before the Commission and as part of this notice hearing is a proposed interim sphere of influence designation for the San Diego Unified Port District, or formal adoption. And as you will see in the timeline on the screen, which is very small, and hopefully you can see that, this proposed action today follows a relatively unique and somewhat thorough journey taken over the last year plus, and marked by the Commission revisiting its oversight responsibilities and concluding at a notice hearing or a noticed meeting in March of 2024 that oversight should extend to the port and for all the reasons that were discussed at the time. And while the journey certainly has continued since the March 2024 meeting, it largely has been done quietly in negotiations with port officials and finding common ground with respect to how best to A, apply LAFCO oversight, while B, account for the uniqueness of the port and the Port Act. So this journey now includes an agreement between the two agencies that was reached in December 2024 in the form of a memorandum of understanding, which you can find within the attachments to the agenda report before the Commission, and that is on page 127. So the MOU is premised on a number of whereases and spells out 6 actionable steps in getting the LAFCO-Port relationship caught up to speed. All six steps are summarized on the screen, with the first having already been completed and involved the port formally withdrawing their previously filed reconsideration request involving the LAFCO decision in March 2024. So this brings us to today's action to take up the second step in the MOU to establish an interim sphere of influence for the port, and in doing so, meet a baseline planning task of the Commission to formally set the authorized service area for all cities and special districts in San Diego County. And in this case, the proposed interim sphere for the port follows the MOU to match the combined spheres of the port's 5 member cities, including Chula Vista, Coronado, Imperial Beach, National City, and San Diego, along with some unincorporated territory granted by the state. In all, the proposed interim sphere covers about 438 square miles, or 280,047 acres, with specific characteristics as shown on the screen. The proposed interim sphere also includes 3 special study areas that are currently applied to 2 of the 5 member cities. 2 of these special study areas apply to the city of San Diego and shown up on the screen on the left, and located in the San Pasqual Valley, and contains about 5,800 acres, and Paradise Hills, which is about 1,400 acres. The third belongs to the city of Chula Vista and covers the Otay landfill, covering about 515 acres. So as for the term interim, it is purposeful and premised as an agreeable placeholder to setting a permanent assignment in step with the preparation of an inaugural MSR set to commence between fiscal years 2025 and 2026. In the meantime, staff attests the interim sphere meets the Commission's statutory task to formally delineate what it independently believes is the port's appropriate current and near-term boundary and service area relative to community needs. And as provided in the MOU, it is important to note the interim sphere of influence may be amended over time to reflect any changes to the sphere of the port's 5 member cities. So all that being said, staff is recommending your commission approve alternative 1 as detailed in the agenda report, and that is adopting the draft resolution provided, making findings in establishing an interim sphere under statute, along with making a related general rule exemption under CEQA guidelines. So that concludes my presentation, and I am open for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Peters. Clerk, let's open the hearing. Do we have any public comment on this item?
None for the public hearing item.
Okay. We will close the hearing then and begin our commission discussion. Yeah, we will entertain a motion if there is one. I'm happy to make a motion to adopt a staff recommendation.
Second.
And it was seconded by multiple commissioners. We'll go with Vice Chair Willis here for a second. Any further discussion on the motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
I just want to say thank you for working with the port and getting this. I know there were some initial bumps in the road, but I'm happy to see that the port is here today and we're going together. We're going forward together as opposed to as opponents, but more of a working agreement. So I appreciate all the work that went into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you. Yes,
I just
Commissioner
want to
Drake.
echo that this has been years and years of strife and weirdness, and frankly, with good leadership and good management, together, we're going to get this going. We need a good port.
That's right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will echo those comments and very much appreciate the conversations that we had with the Port of San Diego along the way, both the staff and the commission members. Worked closely with Mr. Nelson, who is here, and very much appreciated that. And of course, Mr. Chadwick, we look forward to continuing the productive relationship, and thank you both very much for being here with us this morning. Seeing no further discussion, we have a motion that I made to accept the staff recommendation and a second by Vice Chair Willis. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Whitburn?
Yes.
Commissioner Willis?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie? Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Mathis? Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner Desmond?
Yes.
There are 8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Clerk. Well, let's move on to our business calendar. We'll begin with item 7A, which is the proposed policy on public member appointments. And we're going to ask staff to present this item.
And we will ask Priscilla.
Yes, thank you, Chair Whitburn, and good morning, Commissioners. Assistant Executive Officer Priscilla Mumpower, for the record and on behalf of staff. So today we're bringing back a proposed policy on public member appointments for your review and action. This item ties to the adopted work plan and intended to formalize and guide the process for which we or you undertake in appointing public members to the Commission going forward. As you'll recall, this proposed policy was introduced in draft form in December and followed by staff initiating a public review and comment period. This also included making presentations to both the special districts and cities advisory committees as part of scheduled meetings, and comments received during this review period is included within the agenda report, and I'll touch on 2 toward the end of my presentation. So the proposed policy before the Commission today builds on the earlier draft while continuing to be structured around 5 key areas as shown up on your screen. So the first being goals and objectives, followed by candidate eligibility, appointment terms, and in 2 separate sections, full term and midterm appointment procedures. So with this context aside, and before tackling the changes, I'll provide a quick overview of the key policy provisions that remain the same since its initial discussion in December. So the Commission retains the authority to decide whether to reappoint an incumbent or initiate an open recruitment whenever a term reaches its natural 4-year end. If an open recruitment is initiated, it will proceed through the Executive Committee, which is comprised of the Chair, Vice Chair, and immediate past Chair. They will manage the recruitment process and ultimately be responsible for nominating no less than 2 candidates for your collective consideration. Individual commissioners also have the opportunity to nominate candidates from the pool for the full Commission's consideration. We also make it explicitly clear, consistent with statute, that in the actual appointment phase, for any successful candidate to proceed forward, they would need at least 1 affirmative vote from each of the 4 membership categories on the Commission, and these being the County of San Diego, the City of San Diego, City less San Diego, and special districts. So now that I've reviewed the elements that remain the same, I'll turn your attention over to 2 key updates since our initial discussion and shown up on the screen. So the first, and consistent with Commission feedback, we have expanded eligibility requirements to now include community members who serve in appointed roles involving land use decisions, such as planning commissions. This aims to broaden the pool of qualified candidates. The second is that we've introduced an additional option for appointments, allowing for the Commission to draw from a pool of candidates from a previous recruitment, so long as that previous recruitment has been completed within the prior 6 months. This option offers an alternative to initiating a new recruitment, streamlining the appointment procedure whenever the Commission deems appropriate. Now, in bringing the proposed policy for action today, we do want to note that there are 2 remaining topics that have been raised during the review period that are not in the in the version before the Commission, but certainly have its merits. That's okay. So first, the City's Advisory Committee recommends the Commission establish term limits for public members, however, did not include a specific number and instead deferred over to the Commission. Excuse me, as we have, there we go. Additional topics on your screen now. So the first that I've just reviewed is up as the first bullet point, and now I'll begin with the second. So there was also some discussion at the last meeting where the Commission discussed considering geographic placement and/or rotation to help ensure otherwise underrepresented areas have input on the Commission. So both of these remaining topics go further into the policy-making process. However, staff defers to the Commission to take up the items on the dais today. So with this summary in mind, I'll turn it back to Chair Whitburn and welcome any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mumpower. Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Okay, let's open this up for committee discussion. This is an informational item. Actually, this is an action item, so we will be entertaining a motion and voting on this item if that is the wish of the Commission. Any discussion on this item? 7A, yes. Yes, proposed policy on public member appointments.
Well, I'll chime in. One of the recommendations that wasn't up there was the geographic recommendation. And I represent a big part of the unincorporated area, and I do think a lot of our decisions, happen in that as far as spheres go. It happens all over the county, but I still would like to see some sort, at least have one of our appointees, preferably one from representing a city area or urban area, and one representing the unincorporated area. I think we all come from different regions. We all have our different special committees and different areas that we all cover. And I think it would be helpful to have with our at-large recommendations to have a person from each of those two regions, an urban area, and then also a geographic. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve what's been recommended before us with the added request that, or add a requirement that at least one of these people should come from the unincorporated area and one of them should, so alternatively, unincorporated area and urban area.
Okay, let me make sure I captured that. Your motion is to approve the staff recommendation with the added requirement that one of the public member appointees be from the unincorporated area and one be from an urban area?
Yes,
Okay,
or incorporated area, I guess.
incorporated area. Okay.
We have two, don't we?
Correct.
And there are two positions, so.
There's two positions.
As I understand, so the motion would be, you would be bound to balance if one member, an appointee, regular or alternate, was from a city, then the other would be from the unincorporated.
Commissioner White seconded that.
Would you like to discuss the term limits as well? I mean, I think it's worthwhile since the city's advisory commission had brought it up, and I think it's a good idea. I don't know what you think is appropriate. 2 terms might be a little short. 8 years, I don't know. I'm okay with that, but 3 terms might be a little better. But 4-year terms each.
3 is probably
2.
the max, or 2. I'd be happy with 2 or 3.
Okay.
It takes at least a term to figure out what's going
Exactly. Although they usually sit alternate for a little while, so.
It's preferential to be an alternate.
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Friendly amendment?
yes. If you're open to that, I'd be willing to amend that motion.
2-term limit?
A 2-term limit for the public members?
So I'm hearing the amendment would be for 2 terms. In the event that a member inherits a term midstream, let's say they come in on year 3 of a 4-year term, would it be fair for the policy to say no more than 2 full terms? That way, okay, I'm seeing nods in affirmative. Okay.
I'll accept that. No, I'm sorry, is it Dean? It was me.
I think it was Dean. Any further discussion on the item? Commissioner Mathis?
Are we talking about a term limit here of 2 terms?
Yes, the motion on the floor would limit service of a public member or public member alternate to no more than 2 full terms.
I have to be a little amused by that, if you don't mind, having been an alternate member for Centennial or something like that. But I certainly have enjoyed my. I think experience is important. Background is important. And I just kind of hesitate at the term limit, but because if you have someone that you'd be satisfied to have stick around for a little while longer, maybe you'd have that option. But I think maybe you could take another look at whether you really want to put a term limit on it or whether you don't. Just thought I'd mention it because, let's face it, if I were a victim of term limits, I wouldn't have been here a long time ago. And I really appreciate the opportunity I've had, but maybe we should do it with a term limit and bring someone with new views in as associates. That may be a healthy thing, and I'm not considering myself, I hope, unhealthy.
Thank you, Commissioner Mathis. Commissioner Anderson?
I have a quick question. So, as we're thinking in terms of a potential term limit for the appointee, would that mean the alternate would have a term limit as well? And the concern I have is I want to encourage alternates to be involved. To your point, the best members started as alternates. Ben here spent the time and didn't have a learning curve in the first 4 years. And I could imagine somebody like Harry being a terrific alternate, and then he's an alternate to me, I move on, and then maybe he's an alternate to somebody else, and I don't want to see the alternates having termed out when this is a way for people to get experience and hit the ground running. In fact, I'd be okay if we didn't have any term limit, period.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner McKenzie. Okay. Other discussion? Okay. The motion as it stands. One clarification on the motion, Commissioner Desmond. I have it that it would limit. So at this point, it would limit either a regular member or an alternate to no more than 2 full terms. Are you thinking 2 full consecutive terms or 2 full lifetime terms?
How about we get rid of the term limits and
Okay.
and just go with the original motion? We can always appoint somebody, over somebody else, I guess at any time. So I think we have that option to control that ourselves
Okay.
in-house. So I appreciate Ms. Becker's input on this, but let's just it's getting a little too complicated right here. So I think just leave it with the unincorporated and incorporated person.
Okay. Is the seconder, Commissioner White, good with that?
Yes.
Okay. So what we have now, according to my flow chart here, is approval of the staff recommendation, adding the requirement, and there's 2 public members, one's a regular public member, one's an alternate public member, adding the requirement that one of those be from an incorporated area and one of those be from an unincorporated area. Is that motion clear to everybody? Yes. Any further discussion on the motion?
Chair Whitburn?
Yes.
Would it be possible if we can do an effective date to then May of this year? Because right now we have 2 public members, both from the cities. So you could then consider that when Mr. Mathis's term is up, then you could have the full range of options at that point. So just punt it down to May.
That's great. That's fine
Okay.
for that effective date.
Adding an effective date of May 1st.
Yeah, what is the first Monday of May? That's when the term ends. Whatever that would be, the first Monday of this week.
May 5th. Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
All right, adding an effective date of May 5th. And the seconder, Commissioner White, you're good with that as well?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to adopt the staff recommendation, adding the requirement that of the 2 public members, one be from an unincorporated area, one be from an incorporated area, and making the effective date of this May 5th, 2025. Seeing no further discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Whitburn?
Yes.
Commissioner Willis?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie? Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Mathis?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner Desmond?
Yes.
8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you, clerk. That takes us to item 7B, proposed amendments to rule number 6 involving changes to employee leave allowances. Let's hear the presentation on this item.
Thank you, Chair, and we'll ask Priscilla again.
Thought I was being shown the door.
Yes, thank you, Chair Whitburn. Once again, Assistant Executive Officer Priscilla Mumpower on behalf of staff. So today we're presenting proposed amendments to the Commission's personnel policies and otherwise referred to as Rule Number 6, and specifically to address leave allowances for sick and vacation time for employees. So these changes respond to internal discussions and a desire to enhance our leave policies in a manner and structure that align with other benefits that are provided by the Commission as detailed within the agenda report. But more specifically, and as shown up on the screen, the proposed amendments aim to align and match LAFCO's leave allowances with the County of San Diego policies and involving comparable positions just as we do with other benefit offerings such as group insurance and pensions. This includes utilizing the same class designations already used by LAFCO and setting these other benefit offerings, and whether those are unclassified, management, or non-management classes, which are on the right-hand side of your screen and showing the positions within each classification. The amendments are also intended to streamline the current administrative process by eliminating the need for manual overrides for leave balances, which inevitably creates inefficiencies and the potential for errors. And lastly, we'd like to support LAFCO's commitment to providing a competitive benefit package, which enhances our ability to recruit and retain top talent. They also ensure LAFCO remains aligned with current standards and keeps us competitive with other public sector employers in the region. Now, with this context aside, and moving on to this next slide, I'll walk you through the 3 key changes proposed, and beginning with vacation accrual rates. So we're proposing an increase in the vacation accrual rate for employees assigned to the management classification by 2 days per year, increasing it from 10 to 12 days, which will affect 6 out of 8 budgeted positions at LAFCO. The second substantive change increases the vacation accrual cap for all employee classifications, raising the cap for most employees from 160 total hours to 240 hours, which is a difference of about 50%. The other 2 classes would see slightly lower increases of about 40%. The final substantive change would provide all new hires in 2 of the 3 employee classes, and specifically unassigned and non-management, 80 hours of sick leave credit upon hire. Now, from a financial perspective, the changes that you see up on your screen have no immediate impacts, and any long-term financial impacts can be planned for and adequately budgeted as part of the normal fiscal process. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the amendments with any desired changes by the Commission. I'll now turn it back to Chair Whitburn. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mumpower. Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Okay. With that, I will turn it over to the Commission. This is an action item, and we'll take a motion and a second if there is one, along with any discussion.
I think it would be effective immediately. So, yeah, next pay period, which would be this Friday? I think this Friday is the next pay period.
Okay. We have a motion by Vice Chair Willis to adopt a staff recommendation, seconded by Commissioner McKenzie. Any further discussion on the motion? Commissioner Browning.
Maybe it's a question. It looked like you were doing something for management that you're not doing for everybody. I think that's a pretty bad employment practice. Like, I think if you're making the vacation better, it should be for everybody. That's my union hat there.
And through the chair, so that is true that based on what the county's program is that we are looking to parallel, the non-management class would not be entitled to the 80 hours of sick time credit upon hiring. The commission could deviate, but of course, part of the reason why we're bringing this forward is to say, For administrative efficiencies, we want to just tie to whatever the county does, assuming that there's wisdom and good practices assigned to that process that the county goes through with their labor negotiations.
How does this align with other LAFCOs?
That we do not know, because again, the idea here was to align with the county for the benefit of some of you. Commissioner Mathis and Commissioner McKenzie will recall that it wasn't too long ago that we were county employees, and so our benefits were explicitly tied. Once in 2005 we separated from the county, it kind of deviated a bit. What we are recommending is we get back to the mothership, given they seem to have the economies of scale and the discussion and the wisdom, we assume, that these leave balances are competitive and fair.
Okay. Commissioner McKenzie.
Just a question. This will, program here and reduce their hours, does that
So, yeah. Yes, I would say so. To the question Commissioner McKenzie is raising, anytime the county transacts business, in this case at payroll, when they transact a new hire, they have to manually enter in a different leave accrual account for LAFCO staff, since we're different than the rest of the county. Given we don't have that much turnover in new hires at LAFCO, I would assume it's a minimal increase, but to your point, I will look into the specific number and provide that to Commissioner McKenzie. Sure.
How many of our LAFCO employees are non-management that this would not apply to?
One out of 7. The other are either in the unassigned or management class, and I think we have a slide up on the screen for that.
So there's everyone within LAFCO, all the employees sit in management except for the executive officer who's unclassified, and the commission clerk, which is non-management. The analyst series, myself, and the communications associate are all in the management class.
Okay. I would like to add to. I'll just make it a request. I won't make it part of the motion, but I will make it a request to get back to me with some information on what it would take to expand this to all employees. We'll leave the motion the way it is for now, but I'd like some additional information on that. Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, the motion on the floor is to adopt the staff recommendation. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Whitburn?
Yes.
Commissioner Willis?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie? Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Mathis? Commissioner Becker? Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner Desmond?
Yes.
So 8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
All right, thank you. Item C is a CALAFCO update and non-renewal of membership in fiscal 2026. We will invite staff to present this item.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Joelle to do the presentation, and just as a reference, you do have one supplemental item before the commission. It's an email exchange on a related topic that we can cover as the commission sees fit. But Joelle.
Good morning, Chair Whitburn and fellow commissioners. Joelle Barilla, Analyst 1, and the item before you is an update from your staff regarding San Diego LAFCO's membership with the California Association of LAFCOs, also known as CALAFCO. This item is a follow-up from our EO's report back in November of 2024 meeting with respect to escalating concerns with CALAFCO and their diminishing membership services. LAFCO policy delegates staff to maintain memberships that provide benefits to the agency, But unfortunately, at this time, we do feel that CALAFCO does not meet this threshold. San Diego LAFCO has had growing concerns regarding CALAFCO's governance, engagement, and value to its members over the last 3 years, which we have directly voiced to the organization. Membership concerns have been met with dismissive responses, and decisions were made without proper consultation, with examples such as eliminating the legislative committee to working against San Diego LAFCO and its own local policy development related to out-of-agency service agreements. Now, despite rising membership costs, services have significantly declined, such as reduced educational trainings and workshops and weakened legislative advocacy. The most recent marker was during CALAFCO's board meeting held on January 10th, just last month, in Sacramento. LAFCO staff traveled all the way to Sacramento to express their concerns, but only to face disappointment where the board failed to meet expectations for their members. So given these ongoing challenges, San Diego LAFCO has reassessed the benefits of continued membership and has determined that we will formally provide notice to CALAFCO that we will not renew our membership in the new fiscal year. Key regional partners, Kern and San Bernardino LAFCOs, have already left CALAFCO membership, and expected to leave after this fiscal year will be Orange, Ventura, and Los Angeles LAFCOs. Now, non-renewal will save approximately $30,000, which we believe may be best served by redirecting resources towards more effective collaborative efforts, such as partnering with other like-minded LAFCOs for education and legislative advocacy services. Now, this does include making use of our existing organization that all Southern LAFCOs already belong to, which is the California Association of Southern Region LAFCOs, and that's where Commissioners McKenzie and Willis do serve as our official members. Now, while the Commission does not typically weigh in on membership decisions, staff does welcome Commissioner input before any formal notice is provided to CALAFCO. And this concludes my presentation. Staff is available for questions, and thank you. I'll turn it over to Chair Whitmer.
Thank you. All right, Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Okay, let's turn it over to Commission discussion, if there is any on this item. I have a few questions, I guess. So the role of CALAFCO, as I understand it, is education and advocacy on behalf of the member organizations. Is that accurate?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. If we were to go in another direction here, would we lose our educational capabilities or lose our presence in Sacramento, or what does that look like today? Do we have opportunity to pursue that elsewhere, perhaps with the Southern California region? I just want to make sure that if we move forward with this, that we're not losing anything that we can't recover elsewhere.
Well, if we did remove our membership, so we can at least continue to attend the conferences and the trainings and workshops as a non-member. But I will say, at least with me, I'll defer to Priscilla with our presence in Sacramento question that you'd asked.
Okay.
Thank you, Joelle. So I would answer that question by first saying, with respect to the educational piece, I do believe that over the last few years that has diminished or declined, at least, in the offerings that they have provided, or the lack thereof. And then with respect to the question on the legislative piece, I don't know that they have really taken, supported the stance by the LAFCOs in Sacramento. I attended a meeting recently where, they noted that they felt that we don't really have that presence at CALAFCO in Sacramento. And so I don't know that we would be losing out on that piece.
Okay. Understood. Well, I appreciate that. It doesn't sound like we would be losing a lot by not renewing. Do we have the capacity, either at San Diego LAFCO or among the other members of the Southern California region LAFCOs, to be able to pick up some of those pieces? Do we have the capacity to do that?
Yes, and I would say part of the rationale for me bringing you that supplemental item before you was I wanted to check in with the executive officers of the other southern LAFCOs, at least the larger ones, LA, Orange County, and San Bernardino, and using a phrase that Commissioner Drake kind of coined in my head. I think what we have before you is not just a pause, but a steering to a better solution, at least in the interim, where we have like-minded LAFCOs who can pool their resources together. We already are a rather large contributor on a volunteer basis to CALAFCO, so that's already embedded and built into our staffing, and just redirect that to a smaller organization, albeit a smaller organization that I think we are all like-minded, so we wouldn't spend as much time as we currently are commission having kind of disjointed discussions with our colleagues in other parts of the state for a variety of reasons. We're just not seeing the same things, or at least putting our goals in the same bucket. So yes to that question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Simons. I see Mr. Mathis and then Commissioner White. Commissioner Mathis.
Yes, thank you. In my earlier days on LAFCO, I was a member of CALAFCO and was elected to the board of CALAFCO. Seeing what's going on right now, they appear to me to be an organization that's specific. The idea of LAFCO in those days LAFCO as an agency that had a common benefit. Individual LAFCOs. Any such things as best practices among the local LAFCOs, creating basically a fellowship. What I'm seeing drastic change in that situation. I feel seeing this happen because it's so have to do something.
Thank you, Commissioner Mathis. Commissioner White.
I just have one quick question. I'm supportive of the direction you guys are trying to go. Just if we get too far down that road and we decide it's not working out, what's the process like to go back the direction we were?
Outstanding question. It's one actually I've had with their interim executive director, Jose Henriquez, who happens to be the Sacramento LAFCO EO. So because San Diego is not the only one looking to leave, and in some cases a couple have already left, they are keeping the door open, and we are certainly keeping our door open to returning perhaps as soon as later this fiscal year, should a number of structural issues that are currently under discussion be changed. So no bridges are being burned here, and we can, should the situation deem itself appropriate, return.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner White.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Just the whole lack of transparency issue, it's I would be horrified if we were accused of lack of transparency. So it's just totally unacceptable. And if they can finally get their act together, then we can revisit it next year. But for you to travel all the way up there and then have them completely shut you out, I mean, that is just totally unacceptable. That's all I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Willis. Commissioner McKenzie.
I did sit in on the interesting meeting.
Your microphone on? I can barely hear you.
Okay, there you go. Now I'm on? Thank you. There were, and I don't know how many there were sitting around the table that were not board members, but the chair did go around the table with the board members first, and then those who were guests, and did ask for input, 2 hours of input. And then probably the last 5 minutes is like, okay, what are we going to do? Priscilla did read the set of concerns, And some people then picked up on it and others didn't understand it. And I don't think we got I don't think we created our own fair shake to get what we needed, wanted, out to the rest of the commission or board members. So I will agree with our executive officer that the board is dysfunctional. The CALAFCO board is dysfunctional, but we have to take some responsibility because we have 25% of that board. 25% of the members on the board come from the southern region. And I didn't hear anything basically supporting adamantly, our position. And I haven't heard anything regarding, I connect with some of the board members on an ongoing basis, hither, thither, and yon. And I haven't heard any, feedback, to the negative side. So my thought is, let's not cut bait. Let's work from within. I think you can accomplish more if you're in the mix rather than outside the mix. And we have, if San Bernardino leaves, we have 2 positions open there. And we have the elections coming up and new members coming on. My suggestion is that we as a southern region, we as San Diego LAFCO, find people who are interested and committed, that they won't sit there on their phone during the meetings, but at least those show up. We have numbers that don't show up. We have one who, her attendance precipitated a bylaw change. You can miss 3 meetings before you got asked to leave the board. The bylaw was, and I don't know whether that went through or not, because I don't remember, changed it to 2. So we don't have here in our southern region 4 committed members. We have 1 maybe. So, I think it's up to us, CALAFCO and the others, to put 4 members on that board. And we have our deputy executive officer, she's from LAFCO, and all of the deputy EOs have a seat both on the board and on the legislative committee. And part of their job is to communicate back down to their various LAFCOs. Now, Southern Region has 6 counties, so there's 6 EOs that need to be kept in check, and then that information then passed down to our commission. So I would recommend, and my thought is that if we stay in for 1 more year, we get a good representation from the board on the CALAFCO board, and we set out our concerns and how those concerns are going to be able to be met. We have a new executive director who is also the EO. I hate to cut him off at the knees before he gets started. I think we can, like I said, I think we can make more of an impact if we're part of the group rather than just, sending out emails and sending out calls from outside. So, like I said, I think this is a time that San Diego LAFCO exerts their leadership and supports the new executive officer. So let's see what we can do in 12 months.
Thank you, Commissioner McKenzie, and thank you for your service with CalLAFCO over the years. You too, Commissioner Mathis, thank you. And anybody else who is engaged with them. Other further discussion on the item, Commissioner Becker?
Yeah, thank you again for your service. You guys know a lot more about it than I do, but I think today that I could support staff recommendation on this. I think that you have signaled to them already that you were displeased, and I don't think they took you seriously. You signaled to them before you went up to the meeting, and I think at this time, sending a message loud and clear is, one way to go, and I appreciate your effort working with the other Southern California LAFCOs, and let's just keep doing that. And I think that's the way to go. We can always go back in at a later date. So that's how I feel today. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Becker. Commissioner Desmond.
What is it we're not getting our way on? Everything? I don't know. I'm just
Well-
kind of, what's the straw? What's the, I'm not involved with CalAFCO.
So-
I never have been, but I'm just kind of, I'm hearing they're dysfunctional, they're dismissive, they don't engage, value. These are all kind of nebulous things to me. What's the, hit me with a hammer and a nail.
So less nebulous and more thematic. These are themes that have emerged out of CalAFCO increasingly over the last few years. So 2 examples. One was referenced in by Joelle, and it's in the agenda report, and that is the decision to eliminate the legislative committee. That was poorly orchestrated. That has been a key source of information and participation for San Diego, as well as a number of LAFCOs. And then more closer to home, also I think actually referenced, San Diego has taken a leadership role on a lot of things. One of the things we have taken a leadership role at CalAFCO and here is dealing with the challenges of administering out-of-agency service approvals. And again, it's a relatively recent part of LAFCO's statute, and it says anytime a city or special district wants to expand their service area, but annexation's not allowed. Well, there's this provision in statute that says, well, you, city or district, go through your LAFCO, get an approval. But there's all sorts of challenges in taking a very broad statute and implementing it on the ground. Your staff has spent about 4 years, part of our work plan, working with CalAFCO on this very topic, trying to address it in statute, but then also concurrently addressing it in local policy. For whatever the reason, the current CalAFCO board worked against this commission and your staff's dedicated resources and prepared a memorandum that was not shared with your staff that essentially called into question our own local policy as well as all of our efforts up in Sacramento. That memorandum, Commissioner Desmond, was sent to a number of parties and effectively undermined about 4 to 5 years worth of work. There was no explanation for the memorandum. There was no discussion afterwards. And that in of itself tells your staff that we now are paying, you are paying $30,000 into an organization that when they see fit will work against a member. So that is an example where there's just a fundamental disconnect. I share Commissioner McKenzie's comments that there are 4 members of the 16 members of the board from Southern Region. However, that means there are 75% of the board that come out of the region that are not necessarily seeing the world the same way as your partners here in Los Angeles, Orange, and San Bernardino. That's where I would offer up the friction is. You could have all 4 CalAFCO seats comprised of San Diego commissioners, and I don't think it will make a measurable difference right now until a fundamental change occurs outside of the Southern region. So at risk of going on and on, I will say that staff brings this item to you after much careful thought, and to Commissioner White's comment, we would welcome a turn of events at CalAFCO where we can come back and say, we're ready to rejoin, and I think I would can say my colleagues in LA, Orange, San Bernardino would feel the same.
Just, I guess, after hearing that, I'll be supportive today of the motion because, I mean, having a to me, it's being part of a bigger body that can get more things done and push things at the state and is a good idea. And, you know, it's almost like Sandag, which has been dismissive and all these other terms and dysfunctional for a while, but now there's hopefully new light coming through there. So agencies and entities kind of, you know, it's like a roller coaster ride, and sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're not. And is it right to leave it or try to fix it from within? But sometimes I guess we have to take a drastic measure just to say, hey, let them know how displeased I guess we are, and I'm willing to take that as long as we don't have to pay $100,000 entry fee to get back in. If that's the case, that would be that would be a deal killer. But I'll be supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Desmond.
I have one other question.
Um,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We'll go ahead, Vice Chair, and then Commissioner.
Okay, so I was just going to ask Keen, did they explain why they disbanded the legislative committee? What was their reason?
I'm going to ask Priscilla, who actually was on the legislative committee, and my understanding is they did not talk to you about that.
Thank you. No, they did not. So one of the things that I was a little more passionate about, as Keen described, was this disbandment of the legislative committee for all the reasons already stated, but also for the reason of, being new to LAFCO and being able to take part in the legislative committee and learn. It was not communicated to the legislative committee, and that was something that I did express of, it would have been, I think, a good step to come to the legislative committee and say, hey, there are some changes that we're seeking to implement. That includes a change to the legislative committee and its structure. And so in doing so, we're going to disband it. We are going to be taking up this item at the board meeting on X date and welcome any of your comments and invite us to that meeting. That never occurred, and it was not communicated before until we received an email letting us know that it had been disbanded. So I hope that answers your question, Commissioner Willis.
Commissioner McKenzie.
The annual dues themselves, it's a hard 15,000, but then the travel and then the conference registration, we looked, and so on average we're spending about 30,000 over the last few years on CALAFCO.
Okay, this was noticed as an informational item to provide the commission the opportunity to provide input to staff. We don't need a motion on this, but I think you've heard input from the commissioners. Thank you, everybody, for offering your insights and input to staff on this item. With that, we will move on to item 7D, which is an update on current grant activities and related opportunities. Let's hear that report.
Yeah, so we're going to ask Megan Trainor to start this item off.
Good morning, Chair Whitburn and Commissioners. Analyst 1, Megan Trainor, for the record on behalf of staff. Today, the Commission will receive an update on the current grant activities of the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Grant, or SALC 2.0, which has been carried out by LAFCO in partnership with the county's Planning and Development Services, or PDS department, as part of San Diego LAFCO's FY 24-25 adopted work plan. And we will also telegraph a bit as what we see as an exciting opportunity to pursue an additional grant award to fund an agricultural liaison position. As for our current activities under SALC 2.0, it is a 2-year grant that began in June of 2023 and will end in September of 2025. And LAFCO and PDS applied for this grant based on recommendation number 8 of SALC 1.0, which suggested that there was a need for a quantitative understanding of the state of farming in San Diego County, with its focus on small farms particularly. As you may recall, there are 6 tasks within this grant as shown up on the screen. And since the last update provided to the Commission in May of 2024, LAFCO's consultant, Agricultural Impact Associates, have completed the first 2 grant deliverables shown on the screen, market analysis and gap analysis, which leaves that staff focusing on completing task number 4, Outreach and Education Plan, as well as task number 5, the Strategic Vision Plan. And a final report is expected to be completed by September of 2025, consistent with the original timeline. And task number 4 and task number 5 are being completed in collaboration with RIC Engineering. That said, I did want to provide a bit of a sneak peek into some of the market analysis performed to date and how it will enable us to move beyond generalizations about the state of agriculture in San Diego County and towards data-based claims that can be used to advocate for better policies, whether here at LAFCO or before the County Board of Supervisors. So one generalization you might hear is San Diego County agriculture faces serious challenges. Our studies have enabled us to move past this generalization with the finding that San Diego County is losing an average of 18 acres of farmland each day and 1 farm every 3.5 days. Another such example is farming doesn't seem like a very profitable venture. In reality, San Diego County farms had an average operating profit margin of 13% in 2022, roughly half the 25% threshold that experts would recommend for financial health. Now, as we continue our work on SALC 2.0 with the goal of delivering a final report in September of 2025, your staff would also like to put another grant opportunity on the Commission's radar. This ties to addressing one of the key recommendations from the SALC 1.0 report, which is that there is a need to assign agricultural liaisons for city and county governments. Throughout the progression of the SALC 1.0 and 2.0 programs, we, along with PDS and the Resource Conservation District of San Diego, have heard from farmers that there is a great need for an agricultural liaison to help with grant writing and other technical assistance. With this in mind, staff is currently putting together an outline for a new SALC grant application to fund an agricultural liaison position, and doing so align with both recommendations from SALC 1.0, feedback we've received from agricultural producers in the region, as well as interest from Commissioner Willis to fund this position at LAFCO. We hope to present a more fully baked outline to the Commission before the grant is due in July of 2025. In conclusion, we're really excited about how our work on the SALC 2.0 grant has progressed, and we welcome any questions or comments from the Commission. I'll now turn it back to Chair Whitburn. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trainer. Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Okay, this is an informational item. Mr. Simons.
Yeah, and thank you, Megan, who, along with Michaela, is doing a great job with SALC 2.0. So this, as mentioned, is just an update, given this is one of our top priorities in the work plan. I do want to just call out, as Megan mentioned, as we start thinking about next steps, not only completing SALC 2.0, but this perhaps opportunity to apply for a new grant to do something rather unique at LAFCO, but certainly in keeping with some of the comments from Commissioner Willis, and that is, could we find a way to get grant funding to establish an additional position at LAFCO that would be specific to providing farmers and the like with technical expertise like grant writing. So unless the Commission feels strongly the other way, we want to bring back a formal application on this idea probably within the next few months. But as part of that, and this is kind of going into what you'll be discussing at your next meeting, which is our preliminary draft for fiscal year 26, we would then punt on any discussion that I know the Commission had previously asked us about incorporating the possibility of funding an ag liaison directly at LAFCO. So our thinking is, well, let's put all our eggs right now into this possible grant option and not directly incorporated into the LAFCO budget. So this is context in particular for Commissioner Willis to what you'll see at the next meeting. But I did want to just say these are connected. So thank you, Chair Whitburn.
Thank you, Mr. Simons. And thank you, Vice Chair Willis, for your leadership on this issue.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I think we're all alarmed on what's happening with the agriculture. I am extremely alarmed, and we've got to do everything like a full court press. So whatever we need to do to help them, and for those that want to start a new farm, how do they survive? I mean, it's just it looks like it's a dismal prospect. So we need to do everything we can to help them. Grant writing, maneuvering the difficult regulatory environment, and all those things. And I've been listening careful with people like Eddie Grangetto and some other Rick Carey, some other farmers up there have been listening carefully to them and what we need to change. So I'm happy with the direction we're going in. And I would like to see more recognition on our website of the importance of our farmers and do everything we can to help them. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Willis. Commissioner Desmond.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I guess I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, I'm all in favor of trying to help the farmers with their technical assistance, but is that LAFCO's lane to provide a grant writer or a technical person? To be honest with you, it sounds like more like, if we could give the grant or the money to the Farm Bureau, and they're maybe more savvy than we are as far as, what farmers need. I don't know, is that neat? Does it necessarily have to be an internal position at LAFCO that this grant would have to go to?
So it doesn't need to, but the Commission as a whole decides what your lane is, and certainly ag preservation and sustainability is part of the statute mantra. But to your comment, Commissioner Desmond, I do believe that we are coordinating with Farm Bureau should we go forward, and I hope we do, with an application. So perhaps staff can explore seating that potential position, not necessarily at LAFCO, but maybe direct those funds, as you're suggesting, to another organization. So point taken.
I'm just, it's, do we grow government or do we grow the Farm Bureau? Is kind of where I'm going with this. And do we, and if that's, mission creep happens to agencies, and I just want to make sure we're doing the right things and helping the farmers. I'm not trying to upset this at all, or the apple cart here for Mr. Willis, but is that better? To me, Farm Bureau might be a better agency to take that on, and if we can get that granted fund. So I'd be open to other options for maybe, if we don't have it in-house, where might be a better place for it.
Jim, I have had some feedback that the same Farm Bureau does not have the same level of leadership that they have in the past. And it's been disappointing.
Are we going to leave them too? Come on, no.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just responding to what the farmers are telling me.
Well, yeah, okay. All right, well, I'd be open to exploring options for that position. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Desmond. Thank you, Vice Chair Willis. Any further commission discussion on this item? Seeing none, this was an informational item, and we will move along to our next item on the agenda, which is item 7E, a notice of administrative approval, and we'll ask staff to present the report.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask Michaela to present this. This is a different type of check-in on an action that we at staff haven't really navigated before, and certainly haven't really had a real-life example to share with the commission. So ultimately, we want to make sure that how we proceeded in this particular case syncs up to your expectations, and if not, well, we certainly want to recalibrate. But Michaela will summarize.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Commissioners. Michaela Peters, Analyst 2 for the record. So before the Commission is an informal item covering staff's administrative approval of an out-of-agency service request for wastewater by the City of La Mesa, involving a little more than a half-acre unincorporated parcel in the Casa de Oro neighborhood. So this parcel is developed with a 3-bedroom single-family residence at 9365 Alto Drive, and about a quarter-mile east of the city limits in Sphere. And you can see that on the screen. We've got our vicinity map on the left, as well as the parcel on the right. So now for the notice of administrative approval itself, it comes to the Commission per policy delegations, with staff also placing it under the business calendar to seek discussion to help ensure other aspects of the policy are aligning with the Commission's expectations. And up on the screen is a summary of the relevant parts of Commission policy that delegates out-of-agency service authorizations to staff via a 2-part test. So A, can the request be served by existing public infrastructure and or resources? And B, does the request address an existing or impending threat to public health or safety based on documentation and or germane considerations? So now, as for La Mesa's request to establish new wastewater services to 9365 Alto Drive, the first test readily applies given the property is located within the city's historical sewer service area and connect via a private lateral. The second test is where staff took a long pause before proceeding forward with an otherwise uncharted feature of the policy delegation, and this involves making a prospective finding of a public health and safety threat. So specifically, staff concluded the combination of the A, septic system coming to the end of its useful life, paired with B, the usage intensity of a planned ADU, as allowed under zoning, reasonably meets the statutory threshold of addressing an impending threat to public safety. Now, whether this combination and related determination made by staff meets the Commission's expectations is the discussion we would like to have today, with staff ready to recalibrate as directed going forward. So with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peters. Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Okay, thank you. This is an informational item, and we will turn it over to the Commission for any discussion if there is any.
I was just wondering, why is this not an action item?
Well, so your policies delegate EO approvals, anytime a situation comes up specific to a city or district wanting to extend services on the basis of a public health or safety threat existing or impending. And so since I've been here for 7 years, all we've dealt with are existing threats. And we have documentation, whether it's from environmental management or others, and we can simply proceed and we just provide notice to you under the consent calendar. Here, for the first time, we're dealing with the concept of what is impending. And so your staff, as Michaela's commented, took the notional information that, okay, we know the septic is 38 years old because it was built at the time the house was built in 1986. We know that septics have a lifespan between 20 and 40 years based on, a lot of other factors, whether it's a concrete or steel tank, geography, and the like. So given the combination of, okay, we know the county by right allows for an ADU under zoning, and we know that the septic is at 38 years old, your staff believes that we've hit the mark in statute in terms of what could reasonably be considered an impending threat. But we recognize before we do anything else going forward, well, let's check in with the commission to make sure that when we do this kind of action in the future, that we're hitting the mark as you see fit. If you say yes, awesome. If you say no, well, then I think we would want to come back as part of a larger policy discussion to vet out the details.
I guess I'm wondering, how is this different from other ones where it's just straight action?
This is different because we had no failed septic system. Typically, we come here with a letter from Department of Environmental Management saying the septic has failed and or in regular pumping out. Here, it's a question of, well, is it impending? Because the statute does contemplate you authorizing through your executive officer addressing impending threats. And so that's the policy discussion that we tackled in this item. We think we hit the mark in statute, but whether we hit the mark to how you view the concept of an impending threat is what we wanted to do a check-in.
Okay. So did 93, the owner at Alto Drive, they're the one that submitted this application?
They were sponsored by the city of La Mesa. So La Mesa is the applicant on behalf of the landowner.
So the applicant has not submitted any kind of paperwork or plans for this ADU? Because the letter from the city of La Mesa just says that it would allow, the sewer would allow for construction of an accessory dwelling unit. I don't have any problem with taking septic and putting it into sewer. That's the best way to go. I just want to make sure we cover our dotting our I's and crossing our T's, that we're not making assumptions that someone else may have a totally opposite thought process.
So as I understand, the applicant, the homeowners have pulled or are in the process of pulling a permit with the county for their ADU. So La Mesa simply needed essentially a will serve letter to provide the county. Well, in this circumstance, we sign off on the will serve letter. Does LAFCO agree to the extension? And in this case, your staff took it upon themselves to determine what impending is. We went ahead, so they are probably right now in the midst of, if they haven't already gotten their permit, getting their permit. We just want to make sure that going forward, have we hit a road bump or are we good with the commission?
So the applicant found a way around going through the health department, it sounds like.
Well, that could be I mean, that's a way to look at it.
Assumption too.
Yeah.
Well, my concern is, you said safety threat. I mean, if you're looking for direction, I think we should give you direction to go forward. That's just my thoughts.
Okay, this is an informational item. No motion is necessary. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, thank you for that. All right, that takes us to item 7F, which is chair and vice chair appointments. The commission will consider appointing a chair and a vice chair for the coming year. Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Thank you, Clerk. All right, we'll begin commission discussion on appointing a chair and vice chair for the coming year. Commissioner Desmond.
Well, thank you, Chair Whitburn. I appreciate it and all the service and work that you've done this year. You and our Vice Chair, Barry Willis, working with the port and all the other entities. And you've done a great job, I think, in leading the meetings and doing some heavy lifting out there for us. So I'd like to make the motion to reappoint Mr. Stephen Whitburn as our Chair and Barry Willis as the Vice Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Desmond.
You're fighting with Dana.
Very good, Joe.
We have a second from Commissioner McKenzie. Thank you both. Any additional discussion on the item?
I would just like to make a comment. I love the harmony we have in the board right now, and I really love how we're getting things, the way we're getting things done. So, thank you.
Commissioner, yes.
If I may add, kudos to both of you, navigating the port, coming to a resolution that didn't end up in the courts or anyplace else. Great work, and I look forward to your leadership over the next year.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll just say how much I have appreciated the opportunity to serve the commission in this role over the past year. Thank you for that opportunity. Very much looking forward, should it be the will of the commission, to continue to serve you in this role. We've got a busy year ahead, and I look forward to continuing to work together as we have over the past year. Seeing no further discussion, we have a motion from Commissioner Desmond, seconded by Commissioner McKenzie, to maintain the current chair and vice chair. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Whitburn?
Yes.
Commissioner Willis?
Aye.
Commissioner McKenzie? Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Mathis?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker? Yes. Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Desmond?
Yes.
There are 8 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Thank you, Clerk, and thank you very much to the commission. Very much appreciate the kind words and the support, and very much looking forward to continuing the good work together. Thank you. Thank you very much. We did have one additional request for a non-agenda public comment, and I would like to honor that request. If Alicia Morrison is here, would you please come up and share your comment before we move to our next item?
Thank you. I want to say this is my first meeting at a LAFCO meeting, and I just wanted to observe and see how these meetings are conducted. And to introduce myself, I live in the unincorporated area of Lincoln Acres. And over the years, Lincoln Acres has fought annexation into National City. And so I think I will continue to come to these meetings and just kind of get educated on how business is conducted, and to report back to my community and neighbors on how things go. I think the meeting went very well today. I was pleased with some of the things that were said and addressed, and so that's it. So you know my face now, and I'm going to be getting to know yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. All right, let's move to item number 8, which is the Executive Officer Report.
Thank you so much. And of course, Alicia, this all makes somewhat sense because we recently met with a couple of people from National City interested in exploring Lincoln Acres. So I look forward to talking with you, and our staff does as well. But a couple of housekeeping items, one of which is you all have before you a wonderful binded copy of Megan and Aiden's work in updating our local agency directory. In there, you will also see who actually serves on your 2 advisory committees. You have a cities advisory committee, and you have special districts advisory committee. We recently met with both committees in December. And of course, we already had one change. So when you look at your special district representation, I believe Diane Hansen is still referenced as a committee member. She is the CEO of Palomar Healthcare District. She stepped down, and we recently appointed the person, the Fallbrook Public, I'm blanking on her name. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel Mason? Very good. So she's now an advisor to the commission. I also want to take time to note we have a couple of new consultants. Obviously, our veterans are in the attendance today, Chris Cate and Adam Wilson. But I'm pleased to note we've got Mike Stein in the back, who formerly was fire chief in Encinitas. He is going to now be helping us with our fire protection and emergency medical program when we do MSRs. And then, of course, Tom Kennedy, as many of you know, once upon a time was with Oliva Hain and most recently Rainbow. He is helping us out with our utility work, water and wastewater. So again, a wonderful group of consultants. And again, I'd like to thank the commission for giving us that resource at LAFCO where when your staff doesn't have the expertise, you allow us the resources to tap into some bright minds. So thank you, Commission, and that is all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simons. That brings us to our last item, item 9, Commissioner announcements and requests for future items. If there are any commissioner announcements and requests for future items, seeing none, that brings us to, oh, yes, Commissioner Drake.
That Tom Kennedy also got appointed to the Rincon del Diablo Municipal Water District Board. We're very glad to have him. And also that at the last Palomar Health meeting, I did make a presentation that hit the newspaper, which I was very happy to see. And apparently their own finance people have convinced them to take a better course. That's all I'll say.
I saw that as well. Thank you, Commissioner Drake. Further commission announcements? All right, seeing none, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Thank you, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.